Hello and welcome to Film Companion South. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Jayanth Gali's Love, Life and Pakodi, which is now playing on Amazon Prime. This is a boy-girl love story. The boy is Arun. He's played by Bimal Karthik Reva, and the girl is named Rhea. She's played by Sanchitha Punaja. Like all boy-girl love stories in our cinema, the question by the end is whether they will get together, but here the journey is different. It's something like Maniratnam's OK Kanmani, where you have a boy and a girl in love, but not necessarily willing to make a jump into commitment. They don't want necessarily to get married. But OK Kanmani was more plot and character oriented in the sense that as much as we saw the boy and the girl, we also saw things around them. For example, there was an older couple that was providing a contrast to the relationship of the boy and the girl, or there was the boy's brother and his family. Here, it is almost exclusively character oriented. The plot is not practically non-existent. It's almost entirely character. It's Arun Rhea, Arun Rhea, Arun Rhea. That's how this film goes. I think this is intentional. I think the director wants to put Arun and Rhea not in the context of other people, other relationships, or even society. He just wants to show their doubts, their insecurities, their conversations with their own friends. But before we get any further, let's get to the part where we meet Arun. He's a single guy. He's staying in his apartment. It's a pretty posh apartment. This is a fairly upmarket movie. It's set in Bengaluru with lots of what people would call upscale people. You know, it's not really the masses that we see in the movie here. One of the early scenes where we see Arun is when he's taking a shower and his hair is falling, and we see that clump of hair that's going towards the drain, and he notices it as well. But then he looks at himself in the mirror and he says, okay, you still got some time left. He is a bit of a narcissist, I think, because he doesn't like it when kids call him uncle. He says, I want you to call me Anna. So again, it's not narcissism, I guess, so much as not wanting to grow older very soon. Now at this point we meet Arun. He is going to propose to Rhea, and he's a little bit afraid that she might say no, because he doesn't want to do the arranged marriage route if she says no. And he does not have the patience to fall in love and do the whole rigmarole all over again. There's some very nice filmmaking that's happening here. Like one of the girls that we meet in a flashback, one of Arun's ex-girlfriends, the girl supposedly who ditched him and then he never kind of fell in love again, kind of lost all faith in love, that girl. We see her always in her own frame. We never see her with Arun together. The maximum we see is a bit of his hand. It's almost like even when they were together, they were not together, like in the same frame. And these are an interesting bunch of characters. For example, Arun has had sex at the age of 16. The heroine is not a virgin and nobody cares about it. Older people, for example, mothers and fathers, after divorce or death of a spouse, they're not afraid to move on and say, listen, I don't want to be alone. I want to find somebody to spend the rest of my life with. I even like the scenes where Arun meets Rhea. I'm putting that in air quotes because it's not exactly like he goes up to her and says, hi, hello, how are you? He behaves the way some of us would. For example, if we saw somebody in the distance and let's say they're crying or they seem to be in trouble, and we have this reaction where should we go up to them, should we talk to them, or would they rather like to be left alone? We're a little confused. They had these little moments there that are really nicely captured. But after about 30 minutes, something begins to feel a little off. The director is trying for a certain kind of flow. It's a very deliberate kind of flow because, as I said, this is not a plot-driven movie, right? It's more character-driven. But there are some things that happen that don't quite help to achieve this casual flow. I think one of these things is the staging and the performances. It's not that the performers are exactly bad, but the pauses they're asked to do, the staging, it feels like there's a lot of dead air in some of the scenes. The second thing I felt is there is a lot of talk in this film, which is fine because people talk all the time, right? But it feels as if some of the stuff that we're hearing are more the director's thoughts than the character's thoughts themselves. And the director is basically putting his stuff into the character's mouths. And it's not that you shouldn't do it, but you have to do it a little more casually so that you feel the characters rather than hear the director behind your shoulder saying, this is what the scene is all about. And thirdly, I think some of it may also be due to the editing because we get this feeling that some shots are being held on for a certain time to give that impression of that flow that the director wants, but somehow it's not coming across. What really works in the film, though, is the very modern approach, the modern take to life and relationships in today's society, perhaps only urban societies, ultra-urban societies, I don't know. And yet it cannot be denied that a lot of what is being said here is interesting and also very important in movies because we rarely get to hear these things in movies, in our movies. For example, how nice it is to say a girl doesn't want a single mom to stay with her after this girl gets married. It's not selfishness. She's just like, why should this mom come and be here, like just hanging around? It's not selfishness. This girl is saying, I would rather that my mother found somebody of her own and began a new chapter of her life. That's so interesting and refreshing to hear. Or take this guy who's built a wall around himself after a betrayal. It takes a long time for him to even begin to discuss this betrayal with somebody else, because some of us tend to keep these things so close to our heart that they begin to hurt us. And it's only finally when he talks about it to somebody else that this wall begins to break. Or take Ria's question to Arun when he proposes to her. She's saying, why do you want me all your life? I mean, I know you want me now, you probably want me for a little distance in the future, but marriage means you're technically saying you want me all your life. How can you be so sure? This is the question that so many people have today, and these questions rarely come up in screenplays. Again, this is what I meant when I said a lot of it is character stuff rather than plot stuff, but I would have liked it if the people had not articulated every single thing that they felt, that they had not talked out everything so much. I would have sometimes just liked to see at a face staring into the distance and make up my own mind about what he or she was thinking. To use words from this genre, I wanted to love Love Life in Pakodi, but I ended up liking parts of it more than loving the whole thing, mainly because I liked a lot of what it tries to do, which is something that you don't usually find in our films. If you like this video, do subscribe to Film Companion South, and see you soon at the movies.